Okay, now the pre-reading process is finished. We did the surveying with the highlighting, and we connected that surveying with the highlights to our prior knowledge, and then we made our questions for each of our sections. Keep the questions in front of you. Now we're coming to the reading process. This is the during the reading. This is the second part of the process. Pre-reading is before, during, and after. Now we're in the during part, in the middle of the reading. Now you're going to actually read. Before you read, here's what you need. You need to have your questions. You need to have your second color for your highlighter. So maybe you highlighted the sections and the title and all of those things in blue. Get a very different color like pink. Okay, don't get a similar color like green, but get pink or something, or orange. That really big contrast between the two colors. Now what you're going to do, you're going to read the questions for the section. Do one section at a time. Read the section. Go in and read it for understanding. Did you find, and now this is what you're going to do. This is active reading. You're not just going to read and say, oh, okay, I understand. But yes, you can understand it, but will you remember it? Will you really understand it? Will you be able to connect the stuff later on? So what you want to do is read the sections, and then every time read all of it completely. Don't stop, don't write anything, don't highlight. Read everything first. That's the first rule of reading. Read everything first. Even if you don't understand all the vocabulary, that's okay. Read everything, you'll understand the general idea. Now when you get done reading it, look at your questions. Did it seem like you found some answers to your questions? That answer is going to be yes. Are you going to find the answer to all of the questions? Maybe in section 1 about who the oldest living person in history was, yes. In the other sections, maybe yes, maybe no. That's okay. These questions are a guide. They're not the absolute ultimate end of all the activity. So what you're going to do is find the question and then go to the reading, and you're going to highlight it again. Okay? So it says, what was her name? So you'll see Jean-Louise Calment, and you underline it or you highlight it in pink or orange, and then you write next to it name. You have to, if you just highlight it and then you go back in 2 weeks, you may not remember what that information was. So you're going to say Jean-Louise Calment, whatever the story says. You're going to highlight it in orange, and next to it you're going to write name. Then you find out Arles, France, or she was born in Arles, France. You underline Arles, France, and she says where born. When you highlight it in orange and you write it in pen. Don't write it in pencil. Pencil is too light. It's not, and it's also going to rub off on the page. It has to be in pen. And I'll give you a little hint. Make sure it's blue pen. Blue is easier to see. Black is the same color as the letters on the page. You want to do things in contrast so you can find them. That's why you do it in color, so you can find it. Then it says her birthday was February something. I don't remember. So I don't want to keep looking at my book. I want to just talk to you. So you underline and you highlight it in orange and you write birth. You find the date and you highlight that, and it says death. And then you find her husband, Fernand Calment. You underline that and you highlight it in orange, write husband. And then you write, and you do all of this stuff. And then you go back to your questions. And it says, what was her name? And you write it on the piece of paper. You're doing it multiple times. The more you work with it, the more you're going to understand it. And you're going to say to me, and you're going to say, this takes too long. It takes a little bit of time. Yes, but think about the old method of reading, what you used to do. You used to read it once and you didn't understand it. Then you'd read it again with no changes. You wouldn't change any preparation. You didn't do anything else. You'd stop and you'd translate from your dictionary. It wasn't working, and it doesn't work. Read it, no dictionaries. Just do what I'm telling you to do here. It's going to take a little bit of extra time, but you're going to read it 2 times. You're going to read it to get the meaning. First time with nothing in your hand. Second time you go back and you highlight it in orange, the answers. Don't highlight the sentence. Your question was, what was her name? Jean-Louise Calment. That's all you highlight in orange. And then you write next to it, name. That's all you need to do. If you highlight the whole sentence, that's too much extra stuff to remember. That's too much extra stuff that's distracting. So when you say Alphonse and you highlight it in orange and you write born or place of birth or born here or something like that, keep it short because you want to be, think about this. You're going to be doing the exact same process in all of the stories in the Ready to Read More book. And then you're going to take these skills because at the end of the semester, they're going to become natural for you. And think about your biology class or your anatomy class or your business class or any class that you're going to take in your major. These are going to be a lot of new concepts for you if you follow this process and you take a little bit of extra study time at the beginning. When you prepare for your test, it's going to be so much easier to review. So do the same thing, and when you get done, your passage is going to have the blue highlights for the section headings and the title. Then it's going to have the orange highlights for the information that's answers to questions. And it's going to have the information, the type of information next to it. Even if you have questions, you're not going to find answers to all your questions. That's okay. And you're also going to find some information that's not going to be on your questions, but you think it's interesting. Now, also, in addition to doing the highlight answers to your questions, when you highlight, as I said before, don't highlight the entire sentence. Highlight names, places, numbers, dates, and also nouns and verbs and adjectives, things that are important to remember. If you highlight the whole sentence, then you start thinking about the grammar and the spelling, and it becomes too much. Highlight only important words. When you get done, you'll see orange and white because you didn't highlight it, and orange and white and white and orange and orange and white and orange and white. It's going to look like a checkerboard. It's going to look like a game board. So you're going to have some things that are orange, some things that are not highlighted and not orange, some things that are blue. So when you get done, it's going to look like a lot of different colors. It's going to have writing on the page. All of the writing and all of the highlighting, that is called annotating. A-N-N-O-T-A-T-E. Annotate. It means to add notes. Add notes to your book. Put your answers on the piece of paper. That's going to be really, really helpful. Now, that's the reading process. That's the reading and the reciting. Reciting means say it out loud to yourself. So when you're, and also the recite part, say out loud, because when you hear it and you say it and you see it in color and you write it, you've just put it into your head 4 different ways. You're going to remember it. If you only read it with no color, no saying it, no writing, no anything, you're only going to remember that much of it instead of this much of it. It's going to make a big, 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 big difference. Okay? So highlight, annotate, say it out loud, read it and recite it and write it and do all of the work that's going to help you put it into your memory. You're going to have your list of questions. Most of them are going to have answers. If you have extra information that you found that you didn't have a question to, put it at the bottom of your paper and add that information to it, but only put it in words. Don't write sentences. As I said, sentences are too difficult to remember. Okay? When you get done, stop this video, or I'm going to be stopping the video in a second anyway. So we're done with the two R's. We're done with surveying. We're done with questioning. We're done with the prior knowledge stuff. We're done with reading. We're done with reciting. So we're done with the pre-reading and the during reading. The next instructional video is going to be talking about after the reading. So go ahead, finish doing your annotating, finish doing the reading, answering your questions, highlighting the words in orange, writing down what they mean, and then when you get done, we're going to talk about the after reading. Okay?